Hi everyone, in this video I will show you how to run a security scan on a Docker image using Trivy. Trivy is a security scanner for container images, local directories within a file system, Git repositories, and other artifacts. Trivy scans for and identifies vulnerabilities in operating system packages such as Alpine or Ubuntu, as well as application dependencies such as NPM, and Maven. Trivy was developed by Aqua Security and is open source utilizing the Apache 2.0 license. I am using Ubuntu Jammy Jellyfish. I am going to bring up my terminal. For the installation, Mac and Linux users can download and run a shell script to install Trivy. I linked the installation instructions from the Trivy documentation in the description below. Users can also download the Trivy image from Docker Hub to run the program. I can check that Trivy has successfully been installed by running trivy -- version. We can see that it is successfully installed. Let us scan a few Docker images. I am going to scan the Docker image for Nginx, an open source web server software. I want to scan the latest image, so I will run the following command using the latest tag. When I run Trivy for the first time, the program will update its database to search for the latest vulnerabilities. After the scan is complete, Trivy will output a table. Let us review the columns. The library column highlights the affected packages. For the Nginx image scan, we can see in the first row how the advanced package tool or apt package is affected. Next, we have the vulnerability ID. This lists the common vulnerabilities and exposures or CVE IDs linked to the vulnerability. If I bring up my browser, I will go to the MITRE CVE site. The site is linked in the description. I can search for the CVE ID to retrieve more information. I will search for the CVE list and input the CVE ID related to the apt package. If I want to get more details on the vulnerability, I can research it here. Let us go back and let us continue to review the columns. Here I have the severity column, which lists the severity level for a given vulnerability. These can vary from low to critical. The installed version gives the version number for the vulnerable package. The fixed version is the package version that no longer has the vulnerability. There may not be a fixed version available, and if so, the row will be blank. And the title gives a brief description of the vulnerability. I am going to run another Trivy search, but this time I am only going to include the vulnerabilities that are labeled as critical by running the following command. From our search, we have two critical vulnerabilities. The first vulnerability ID listed is related to GNU libc's MPTL component. The second vulnerability is related to a tool that processes BMP images. As of the recording of this video, the latest Nginx Docker image utilizes Debian Bookworm as its underlying operating system. What I am going to do is search for the Nginx image that uses Alpine as its underlying OS. The Alpine OS is a minimalist setup and has far less packages than a Debian OS, meaning Alpine has a smaller attack surface relative to Debian Bookworm. To scan the Nginx Alpine Docker image, I will run the following command. We can see for the Alpine-based Nginx image, there are no critical vulnerabilities. It may be a good choice to switch to the Nginx image with Alpine rather than the Debian-based image to avoid the critical vulnerabilities. We can output the table generated by Trivy to a JSON file. This can be helpful if a user wants to run scripts to analyze the outputs. I can run the following command to output the table for the Nginx scan to a JSON file. I can open the file with the built-in nano editor. We can see that we have vulnerabilities from the table in JSON format. Let us go back. Trivy can also list vulnerabilities only if they have a fixed version. This can be done using the ignore unfixed flag. I will run the following command to scan for vulnerabilities for the Elasticsearch 7.17.25 image. We have a vulnerability listed for the Guava library that can be fixed by updating the package to 24.1.1. As with all scans, each vulnerability should be analyzed to understand how it should be fixed and even if it should be fixed. For example, the simplest way to address the vulnerability in the Elasticsearch 7.17.25 image is to move to the newest image version of 8.15.3. However, if you have scripts that work with the older image version but break with the newer version, you may need to consider upgrading the Guava version within the older image, which comes with its own complications. There are also vulnerabilities that may not need to be patched. For example, one of the CVEs listed as critical for the Nginx image, Red Hat states on its site that it does not consider it to be a vulnerability. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope that this video was helpful. In the description, I linked the documentation site for Trivy. If you found this video helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, X, GitHub, Medium, and Odyssey. I also have a podcast called The Aspiring STEM Geek, which you can check out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for watching, and happy coding.